Hi, my name is Steve Duffy. I'm coming to you from the east wing of the Robert Ferguson Observatory. And today we're going to go through the opening and closing of the east wing and kind of cover the main telescope equipment. We call this the RC20, the robotically controlled telescope. So follow along with me, and the first thing we're going to do is come around here and open the roof. There are two procedures to open the roof. One is computer controlled and one is manual. Right now I'm going to show you the manual procedure because you may need to know how to do it. The computer controlled one doesn't always work, so the manual is good to know. Come with me. So over here on the wall you see this gray box with this yellow, it looks like a light, but it's actually a button, and if you push it, the power to the roof comes on. And you see that the roof is not opening though, and it's not opening because there's an additional control called the key fob, which is kept in this locker. It's hanging on this stick, and you take the key fob, and the top button on the key fob is the one that you need to push. And basically, you hold down the power switch and push the key fob. And the roof starts to open. You hold down the power button until the roof is all the way open, and it will stop itself automatically. You don't need to push the key fob anymore once it starts to open. And closing is the same way, works the same way, except that sometimes you have to click the key fob 2 or 3 times to get it to close. Stow the fob back in the locker and we're good to go. Okay, so now we've got plenty of light. So this is the east wing desk, and it is a mirror image of a computer in the library behind me. We can control from either place. We'll get into the computer control a little later in the video, but right now I kind of want to introduce you to the main equipment. So when you come in, you're going to see this telescope, the big astrophysics mount, the RC20 telescope. This is a Ritchie-Crichton telescope. It's a reflector, so you can see down the barrel, you can see the mirror in the back. Up here is the secondary. This is the focus motor. And around the back we have what we call the instrument cluster. So in the middle, I have this unit called Perseus. And what Perseus is a rotating mirror. So basically, we can switch it to different positions to look at the camera or the video camera or the spectrograph. So we can switch it from the computer, but we can also switch it here. Right in the center of the Perseus unit is this round cap. It doesn't look like a button, but it is a button. And when the power is on, you can push that button and switch the ports, and the indicator light will light up. Okay? This is the Malin cam. It is a video camera. It is operable, but we seldom use it. This is the spectrograph, also operable, but seldom used. The main workhorse here is the ATIC camera. This is a CCD camera, monochrome camera, and connected to that is a filter wheel with filters for astrophotography, but also filters for photometry. And we can switch all that through the computer control. Most of that you don't need to really fool with. You just be controlling it from the computer, but it's good to know where they are and what they're doing. Over here on the side, we have a finder scope. You can use that to recenter the scope if it ever gets lost, and use the hand control here to help re-aim the scope. And then here is the guide scope with a little guide camera. We use that occasionally during astrophotography. Up on the top is the Eagle computer. That's not currently in use, but we will probably be using that soon. And this last little item is the laser. And that's there to verify that the telescope is parked properly. So if you come back over here, on the table is this box with a button, and if you push the button, the laser comes on and it points at this target on the wall. If you can see the little green dot. And when that green dot is pointed at those numbers there, that means the telescope is properly parked and the roof will close without hitting it. So it's a very important thing. So during an event, a public event, we have to get this east wing ready. So usually there will be people crowded in here, kind of in this, they come in and they stand kind of in this area. And so we tend to move all these ladders and chairs and things out of the way. And then we project, we never look through this telescope. It's all done with the camera and the computer. But we can't have 20 people crowded around the computer monitor. So we project the image onto this large flat screen. So one of the things that you have to do is turn on the flat screen, and that is done with this remote control, and it's just a simple power on button to turn it on, and it works fine. It should synchronize automatically. Another thing that we have to do is cover the lights, because the regular white lights damage your night vision. You can't see very well. So we have these covers. They're all marked east and west and north and south. And in the bottom they have a red filter. So you put them on the wall over the lights. This one is marked east, so that's for this side. And there are nails up above the light, and you just put the little hooks over the nails and it stays there, and it turns the light red so that it's dim and protects your night vision. And you do that for all 4 lights. Okay? Then the second thing that you do is come over here to the stairwell, and you can see right now that there's a white light on in the stairwell. We don't have a cover for that one. So what we do is we have a red light on the opposite wall with a slide switch, and you can turn the red light on, and then you can use this wall switch to turn the white light off. So now you have a red light here too. So we're protecting night vision. Now you can see that I'm down in a stairwell. And the problem that we have at night is people are not familiar with the observatory, and they crowd in. They crowd around here. You can imagine people backing off these stairs and falling into the stairwell. So the other thing that we do is take this piece of plywood, and when we're getting ready to start up, we cover that doorway so that nobody backs down that stairwell. Okay? And I didn't mention it, I should have mentioned it before, but we also close that door at the bottom of the stairs so nobody tries to come up the stairwell. Okay? During the show, the people are going to come in this door over here. And as you can imagine, when you're getting ready, I've only shown you half the process so far. You have to get the telescope aimed and the computer on and all that. You don't want people walking in here while that's going on, before you're ready. In other words, they come in, they start asking questions and distracting you. You don't get ready. So we keep this door closed and locked. Closed and locked until you are ready for people to come in. And then when you open this door, that's a signal that people are welcome to walk in and join you. Okay. So next, we'll move on to controlling the scope with the computer. Okay, so here we are in the library computer. I'm filming from inside the library because it's daytime and you can't see the screen out in the main east wing, but the screen is exactly the same as what you will see here. So have a look at what I do here, and then we'll fill in some fine details later when it gets dark. So when you turn on the screen, you see that across the top of the screen there are these 6, 7 icons. Okay, and the first one is called BG info, or background info. Basically we click that and this allows us to edit the home screen. And the reason we edit the home screen is that people try to log in remotely, and this is their notification that somebody's here and using the scope. So I'm going to say right now, May 25th at 10:45 a.m. Okay, so I've typed in that we have it open, and we'd say OK and close that out, and you'll see that our notes will appear on the screen there. The next thing we do is go to this icon called Roof Power. It's going to open a browser window, so we double click that. The browser window opens. I'm going to maximize it. And up here you see that it's asking for a username and password, which you don't know. But if you click in the field, magically autofill will fill them in for you. And you say OK. And then you get this screen that says it's the T-Rex Arduino only. So the Arduino is basically the little computer that is controlling the roof motor. So we need to turn the computer on in order to make the roof motor work. So here we're going to switch it on, and we confirm that it's on. So we're temporarily done with this. We're going to minimize it. And then we're going to go to T-Rex, and T-Rex is the roof motor. So you got a little interface here, and it says, well, it's kind of two things. This side is kind of indicators, the left side is indicators, and the right side is switches. Okay? So right now the building power is on, but the roof power is off, and the mount power is off. And basically there's an interlock so that you cannot turn on the mount power unless the roof is open. So we're going to open the roof now. We start by turning the roof power on, and you see the indicator shows that it's on. And then we're going to hit start stop. And if you listen, you can hear the roof opening. And it says that it's midway, and when it gets to fully open, it'll tell us that it's open. And now it's open. So now we turn the roof power off, And that will allow us to turn the mount power on. And you see that it's on. And so now we're temporarily done with T-Racks. So close that, not close it, but minimize it. And we go to the CCD power icon, which is another browser window. Double click. Same drill. Click in the field and the password and username will auto-populate. Say OK. And here we have multiple things to switch on, but really what we need to switch on is the Perseus unit, which is that rotating mirror that I described earlier, the camera, and the filter wheel. So we're going to just switch on the first two lines. You see that they're both indicating on now. And so the other tab is still here, the Arduino control. We don't want to close this window, we want to minimize it, okay? So what that did was it powered up the camera, the filter wheel, and the Perseus unit. Now we go to the Perseus unit, and we see that it's there, but it's not connected to anything. And so in order to connect, you can either do File, Connect, or there's a shortcut on the desktop. You can hit this brown button, and you see the mouse over says click here to connect. And it's connected. You see the color change. And what we're using is port 2. That's where the camera is and the filter wheel. So we switch to port 2, and you see the indicator moves over there. So the Perseus unit is good to go, and we minimize that as well. Not close, but minimize. Now we go to SkyX. And SkyX is the planetarium program that's actually going to steer the scope and take pictures. So you see that it opens as a planetarium window. We're not exactly sure where it's pointed, I guess, so the first thing that we want to do is go to the telescope tab. So there's tabs down the left side, and one of them says telescope. We click on that tab, and then there's these drop-down menus in here, and we'll go to the startup menu and connect. And that pops up. This is an ASCOM driver window, and if you wait for a moment, it'll say, is it okay to unpark? And we say okay. And now the chart reflects where the scope is pointing, which is somewhere toward the north, but beyond north. It's below north. It's pointing at the horizon, and that doesn't do us any good. Once again, we have a window here that we need to minimize. Don't close it, because it's actually functional, and we're going to minimize it. And now SkyX tells us that the scope is connected, right? So the next thing we need to do is aim at a particular star. So what are we going to aim at? How do we know what star? We can't really tell from this view very well. We want something near the zenith. So let's make our lives easy. Let's find the zenith first. So in the Find tab, we type in zenith and say find, and it finds the zenith, right? And so now it's moved the target to the center of the screen, and it's what would be right overhead. And you can see that the sun is up now. What you can also see is this green line going around. That is our local horizon. Somebody hand drew that in. And we want to pick a star that is near the zenith to synchronize the scope to. So this one is, when you mouse over, you get the name. This one is Mirac. I'll pick Mirac. And I can say slew, but that's kind of a more difficult way to do it because you end up slewing 20 times to get it centered. So instead of slewing right now, what I'm going to do is go back to the camera and connect it. Okay, and the camera is now connected, and you can see that it has a set point of -20, and its current temperature is 31. So now you see the power ramping up from 0 to 50% or so, and it will cool down the camera. You just want to verify that it's cooling. Almost all the time it works fine, but just verify it all the same. So the camera's ready. So now here we can go back to the telescope tab, and we can do a closed loop slew. Now what's going to happen in a closed loop slew? The telescope is going to go to the approximate location of the star, the one that we picked with find, which was Mirac. And it's going to take a picture, and it's going to take that picture and it's going to compare it to the sky chart and calculate exactly where it's pointing, because it won't be pointing correctly directly at the star. It'll be close but not right on. So it's going to do what they call plate solve, and then it will know exactly how much error there is, and it will move the scope a small amount to correct that error, and then it will take another picture to prove that it's got Mirac centered directly in the camera field of view. Now that's great. It's fast, it's easy. There's one danger point, which is if you don't wait for the second picture to appear and you click on slew to something else, mount gets lost. It loses its synchronization with the sky, and it won't point at anything correctly anymore. Now there's a recovery procedure for that, which I'm not going to go through right now, but the main point I want to make is always wait for the second picture to appear if you click on close loop slew. So I'm going to click on it. Hi, here we are. We're back at RFO at night now, and you see I'm coming up the stairway into the dim light. It's a little different than it was in the daytime. You can't see the equipment nearly as well. I'm just going to go through the routine of starting up the telescope. So, turn on the monitor. This has a funny little paddle switch on the back. You just push that button in, and the monitor will come on. Once again, we'll go into the BG info, and we're opening up at 8:30. Okay, done with that. Roof power. So, enter the login parameters. Turn on the Arduino. And minimize that. T-Rex. I'm going to turn on the roof power, and we see it's on. I'm going to open the roof, and you can see the roof opening. Okay, so minimize that. CCD power. Enter the credentials. Turn on the Perseus unit and the camera and filter wheel. Minimize that. Start up the Perseus Commander software. And there it is, and we'll hit the brown dot to connect. Switch to port 2. There we go. Minimize that. Now we start SkyX. And we go to the telescope tab over here. Startup, connect telescope. It opens this. We wait for the unpark menu to appear. Oh, I missed a step. Back to here. You got to turn the roof power off and the mount power on. Now close that. And then disconnect, and we're going to do this again. So now come in here to the telescope tab, the startup, connect telescope, and it should come up with the unpark. There you go. Click OK to unpark. And now we can minimize, not close. And we see that the telescope is sitting here beyond north. And so we're going to use our trick of finding the zenith, which will center the sky chart over the area that we can view, the area within our horizons. And we'll pick a bright star. Here's the constellation Leo. I'll just pick, yeah, that's maybe a little too low. I'll pick something up here. This. Alioth. Okay? And I'm going to tell the telescope to slew to that position. Now earlier I told you to use closed loop slew, but because it's not quite dark yet, closed loop slew is not going to work. It can't get a picture of the stars to map. So we're just going to get to the approximate position right now. And then we're going to go about and take care of some of our other housekeeping chores. Okay, so you can see the telescope thinks it's at Alioth. We'll see how it is later when we take a closed loop slew. So back to other housekeeping chores. So now we're going to go put up all the light covers. So this is the east. The north one always stays on. Come down here into the stairwell and turn on the red light. Close the door. We don't want people coming in that way. Block off the doorway with the plywood. Uncover the big screen TV. Power it on using the red button here. And with any luck, it will mirror the other display. Okay. So once we get our final alignment done on the star map, we're good to go, and we would open the door over here, the entry door, and start allowing people in. One other thing I'll tell you, you're gonna kind of think, well, how am I going to remember this? Well, over here on the desk, there's a red lamp. And under the red lamp is a set of instructions, and it's not a detailed set of instructions, but it is a checklist to go through. The closing is basically the reverse of the opening procedure. This lamp is there so that you can read this in the dark. There's a little detent button on the side that operates the lamp. And one last thing, this display, as I told you earlier, is too bright for after dark. So what we'll do, I'll minimize this right now, and we'll get to Pango Bright. And that opens up in the system tray down here, and it's this P. And we can pick a brightness that we want to use, like say 30%, and it dims both displays. It dims this display and that display. Okay? Now we have the telescope supposedly pointed at Alioth. And I'm going to connect the camera. So I'll go to the camera tab over here on the left and connect the camera, and that should connect the filter wheel automatically as well. We'll double check. We'll go to the filter wheel tab, and yes, it's connected. And it says it's at lumen, but I'm going to prove it by hitting move now, and it is at lumen. So that's all good. So now we're going to do a closed loop slew to Alioth. Okay, so I'm going to click on closed loop slew. You can hear the telescope moving. We're going to look at the camera. You see it's starting to expose a light. That'll take about 10 seconds. And then the exposure will appear here, and it's not quite centered, right? And so it's taking a second exposure over here after the plate solve. The plate solve happened invisibly behind the scenes, but it's going to move the scope a little bit, and there's the second picture. It's dead center now, which you can prove by waiting for the monitor to come back and then showing you the crosshairs. Okay? So we've proved that closed loop works. And from there you can just go on and take photos, exposure time, and pick your filter and all that stuff. But that's the basics of running this software.